USA Ultimate is proud to present the 2018 USA Ultimate College National Championships. Memorial Day Monday here in Milwaukee, and a very exciting men's final for you. The 9th seed Pittsburgh and Sabanor knocked off the top-seeded Carleton Cut last night. North Carolina Darkside coming from behind against Oregon Ego to win a Universe Point thriller. It's UNC and Pittsburgh, two of the great programs in the sport. One will be a champion in a couple hours. Hi everybody, Evan Lepler. We are the Intoner for the second time in 4 years. Nationals here in Milwaukee. 3 years ago, Darkside won their first title on this field. And Pittsburgh is the only team that beat North Carolina during the regular season. What a matchup we've got.
It's really interesting in that this year, Pittsburgh is coming into the final not the heavy favorite that they've been in previous college championship tournaments. They haven't won any regular season tournaments, and they've been building together, peaking, building trust at the right time here at the college championships.
Pittsburgh won the title back in 2012 and 2013. This is a different team, though. Nick Kazmarek says it's the grittiest team he's ever coached. And yesterday, going against Carleton superstars, Noah Robinson was the best player on the field at the second half.
Yeah, he absolutely dominated his matchups downfield, catching goals in the deep lanes, beating people to the four-side cone. Amazing to think that just a few months ago he was battling a calf injury and not contributing to the team at all, but fortunately he's gotten healthy just in time for the championship series.
It'll be interesting to see who North Carolina throws at him today. Darkside has loads of talent on both sides of the disc. Nathan Quan was huge down the stretch, their Callahan nominee. Both these teams, as a matter of fact, have a top 5 Callahan finisher in 2018. But how about Elijah Long yesterday? This guy played a lot of small ball, did the little things to help UNC come back and get the win against Oregon.
You're absolutely right, Evan. We talk a lot about the offensive explosiveness of Madga, Hanna, and Liam Searles and the crazy defensive skill of Nathan Quan, but Elijah Long is the player that's the rock on both sides of the disc. He can get you those 1 or 2 blocks that you need, take that defensive matchup, and contribute offensively after the turnover.
North Carolina in the semis for the 5th straight year, trying to win their 2nd title. This is the 3rd meeting of the season between Pitt and UNC, and it is the rubber match with everything at stake. A title will be decided today in Milwaukee. Pitt and UNC coming up. The 2018 USA Ultimate College Championships are presented by Spin Ultimate, providing custom team uniforms and ultimate apparel since 2007. Visit Spin Ultimate on the web at spinultimate.com. And by Discraft, the official disc of USA Ultimate, now available at Midwest Meyer stores and over 2,000 retailers nationwide. Ready for the championship game at Nationals. Pittsburgh starting 7, and Sabanor will begin on defense. Cooper, Hartley, Goldstein, Tranquillo, with Warren McNamara and Marcel Oliart, who made several spectacular plays yesterday. Kazmarek, Rin Idropcho, and Connor, the staff for Pitt. UNC's O-line. Tremendously talented freshman Liam Searles. Tommy Williams was a revelation yesterday. Matt Gusho-Hannes, the senior, spectacularly skilled, with Alex Davis, Andrew Cohen, Anders Jungst, and the gunslinger Kai Marcus, who had a shaky game yesterday, but Darkside is sticking with him today in the finals. 3rd member of our broadcast team is Megan Tormey. She's down on the field. How's it feel down there, Megan?
Well, it feels warm, not quite as stifling as yesterday, but still a hot one. And we're excited to see this matchup. Pittsburgh is feeling confident. They looked great when they beat Carleton yesterday, the team everyone thought would win it all. But Darkside is notorious for busting out defensive sets we haven't seen before. So Pittsburgh's going to have to stay on their toes in case Darkside has any aces up their sleeve they're looking to play.
We began on Friday morning here in Milwaukee with 20 men's teams and 20 women's teams after 4 rounds of pool play and pre-quarters and quarters and semis. It's time for finals. Darkside in the black jerseys fielding the pull. Interestingly, Ian, UNC won the flip, chose side of the field, trying to go downwind at the start. Yeah, Pittsburgh chose to pull.
Yeah, definitely a decision based on the wind, trying to get that at your back as early as possible and make things as easy as possible on your offense.
Gusho-Hannes in the backfield. Here's Alex Davis. See how Pittsburgh matches up. Dan Goldstein is currently starting out on Gusho-Hannes. Oliard on Marcus. Junks gets the touch, back to Marcus. And sneaks the throw, connecting with Williams. And a travel might have been called. We asked the North Carolina coaches about Kai Marcus's status after he had what could generously be called a shaky game yesterday, especially in the first half against Oregon. But the message from David Allison, one of the smart coaches on the UNC staff, said, look, in the Washington game yesterday, he was spectacular, made all the right decisions. We're not going to change what we've done all year long on the biggest stage. Marcus to Gusho Hanna, who made his defender Goldstein drop, and Darkside with a turnover free hold to start.
And just like many of those late game goals that we saw yesterday in Darkside's comeback against Ego, again, it's just 2 or 3 guys working in very small spaces, almost running their own handler weave 2-on-2 game in small 10x10 or 20x20 square yard boxes.
Both these coaching staffs are known as among the most intelligent and ultimate, with Mike Denardis and Jonathan Nethercutt and David Allison on one side, Nick Kazmarek, Marcus Renai, Drop Joe on the other. Do you have an inkling about some of the wrinkles that the coaching staffs may try to throw at the opponent early in this game?
I think the adjustments that Nick Kazmarek and his staff will make are probably going to be more on the micro level, fine-tuning a matchup, telling someone to force one receiver a different way, whereas I get the sense that the Darkside coaching staff adjustments are going to be more at the macro level, calling an entirely different defensive set or something like that.
Jonah Wish to Dylan Best as Pittsburgh's offense has taken the field, and Michael Ing, maybe the most talented player on the Pittsburgh roster this year. Deep shot goes up. Will it work? Just out of the reach of Kevin Trey.
This Pittsburgh goal line never afraid to shoot deep, and can't help but wonder if a little bit of the wind might have pushed that just a tad farther than Hanna wanted it to go.
Kevin Trey, third on Pittsburgh in goals this week, shaken up. He'll be replaced by Goldstein. So an opportunity for the Darkside D-line. Last meeting between these two teams was in the quarterfinals at Easterns on April 1st. Pittsburgh got off to an amazing start in that game, led 4-1, taking advantage of a couple errant hucks from Kai Marcus. Pittsburgh maintained the lead at 12-10. Darkside tied it up at 12, and then Pittsburgh held to win 13-12. Robinson to Ing for the game winner. And that single game, the Eastern quarterfinals, was Darkside's only defeat in the entire regular season.
So you get within 10, so we're good.
Their only loss all year, except for a meaningless game in pool play when Darkside had already wrapped up their first place spot in the pool here at Nationals. Nathan Quan. Nick McLeod overshoots his target. It's deflected and taken away by Pittsburgh. And what did Nick Kazmarek tell us before the game? He said, our ability to win the multi-turnover points has been better this year than ever before. Going to be at least 3 turnovers on this point if this call
Yeah, we're good. We're good there.
Doesn't stand.
So I definitely think that Smith came in and made contact with Goldstein, but that was after the disc was out of his reach.
He was right where he was going to be. Yep. Okay. Yep. And are you calling a foul on that, or are you just calling dangerous play after it? You can't give it this one play. Did you feel like you had to play? I don't think I had to play. Okay. You got a foul, but not a receiving foul. Son catch up. Over there.
Dangler rendering the verdict. There was a foul. Blue card was issued, a team misconduct foul. 2 more of those, and there will be a yardage penalty assessed to North Carolina. But because it was uncatchable, UNC gets the disc. McLeod connects with Quan. Nathan Quan is all of 5'2", but he has been an unbelievable force on defense for Darkside all throughout his career. Mike DeNardis, coach of Carolina, went so far to say he's the most fundamentally sound player I've ever coached. And with that, he means his positioning on the field, his instincts and anticipation, second to none.
I mean, it's still in my head. I definitely hit him. Okay, so, but it's good. That's why you traveled. So we got to travel and we got to foul. We're coming in 1. No contest on either.
Ing marking Matthews. Here's Elijah Long. We talked about him in the open. Matt Hanna defending to Quan. And another stoppage downfield. Players make their calls on the field. Observers settle disputes. Observers also make active calls on whether the disc is caught in or out of bounds, and whether the disc was caught in or outside the end zone when it's near the goal line.
Get back to the middle. Colin, you got to move to the middle there. To your back, baby, your back.
We need the full alley there.
Hey, move quickly here, Tuna. With purpose, Tuna.
Gusho Hannes to Long. And there's smooth offense from the UNC D-line. 2-0 Darkside.
Well, a nice bit of redemption there for McLeod after he sailed that flick earlier in the point. The beneficiary of some great handler movement in the red zone, opening up a nice little seam there on the goal line.
Great start for UNC. They open up a 2-0 lead on Pitt in the men's final at Nationals.
You may notice we'll have a few pauses throughout this game. That's because we are on TV live. We're on ESPNU, so come on and have fun out there. It's going to be a good day. Let's enjoy.
A 2-0 lead for the second seed UNC Darkside over Pitt. It is the 50th anniversary of the creation of Ultimate this year. Joel Silver and his buddies in Maplewood, New Jersey, Columbia High School created this great game in 1968. It has certainly evolved over the past 50 years. We'll be celebrating the half century at Club Nationals, October 18th through the 21st out in San Diego. Visit theultimatefoundation.org for more information. They wrote the first edition of the rules in 1970. Joel Silver, Buzzy Hellring, Johnny Hines. Darkside pulls it down the field to Pittsburgh. You know why it's called a pull, Ian? It's because Joel Silver decided to use the term pull for the opening throw-off after watching the 1965 James Bond movie Thunderball, in which a skeet shooting scene takes place. That is why we call it a pull, because of Bond. Joel Silver, a very successful career making movies.
For some reason, I can't quite picture James Bond playing Ultimate, but you never know. Maybe his offspring could take a liking to it.
How do you think he got in such great shape? First college championships were in 1984. Stanford was the first ever winner in the men's division. First women's winner in 1987 was Kansas. That disc lands in a Pitt receiver precariously.
With our legs! With our legs! Bingo, bingo, drop, bingo!
Here's Robinson. He had 4 goals and the game-winning assist in the second half last night against Carleton. He dishes to Leo Warren to get Pitt on the board.
Well, after Jonah Wish had gotten the Pitt offense out of trouble, catching a high swing, he's able to hammer over the zone, and these hammers are going to be a little more difficult this afternoon than they were last night because there's some stiffer breeze facing throwers, but Noah Robinson does a nice job continuing things right up the line and finishing the point for the Pittsburgh offense.
Evan and Ian, I think Darkside was hoping for a little more frustration from Pittsburgh when they pulled out that zone. They were very eager to put it on. Everyone on the sideline was getting amped up, directing each other who was going to talk to who. And Pittsburgh really didn't seem to be slowed down too much by that new defensive look.
This Pitt team has built all season long. They have improved, and they're really peaking at the right time. Came into this tournament in Pool D, which is often referred to as the Pool of Death because the 4, 5, and 9 seeds are all locked in there together, and those 3 teams all beat each other. Washington beat Brown, Brown beat Pitt, and then Pittsburgh, with everything on the line, knocked off Washington by 4. That gave them the win in the pool via point differential, gave them a free ride straight to the quarterfinals, whereas Brown and Washington each had to play in the pre-quarters and then had a really tough quarter. Pittsburgh then shocked Carleton last night to get back into the final for the first time in 5 years. Get the feeling that while a lot of people in the game were surprised by Pittsburgh beating Carleton as soundly as they did, Pittsburgh wasn't shocked. As Marcus sends Williams, it hangs up. Williams jumped early and then recovers for the score.
I think we might have another travel call back at close to midfield. Trying to listen into the observers here to figure out what the call exactly was.
I don't know what happened. Are you contesting the foul or are you?
Yeah, no contest. Okay. So you threw to Kai, right? Okay. We're there one. We're there one. Where you were when he caught it.
So it looks like
there one. Offensive foul.
Goldstein called a foul on the receiver, Youngst, before Kai Marcus's throw went up to Williams.
North Carolina keeps the disc. Gusho, Hannes, and Marcus. Good handler movement. Sure-handed grab by Anders Jungst. Up the line, Hanna tried to extend, couldn't get there, but Kai Marcus sneaks in. But there was a pick called, so hold on.
Yeah, I think Hartley was charged with the Marcus matchup.
He definitely lost a step, but had 3 steps in he lost a step and a half, maybe 2, but he needed 3. Okay. Okay. It is a pick. I don't think you would have closed that distance, so it's a go. Yeah.
You even gonna slow it up back here?
Yeah. You curled out, slowed out. You were 3.5 steps behind, and I think at most you lost 2 good strides. So you still don't have to give a good layout there. Yeah. I know it's tough, sir. I know it's tough.
So Hanna gets it there in the red zone, and Hartley, you know, I think listening to observer Mitch Dangler's justification on adjudicating the pick call, if Hartley had not slowed up and if he had been more aggressive in pursuing Kai Marcus to that cone, the pick call would have been valid because he would have been close enough to have a play on the disc.
First Darkside goal was Marcus to Hanna. Second one the reverse, both short-range scores. Darkside taking care of business in the red zone to lead 3-1. UNC came out with a dominant performance against Minnesota Grey Duck, 15-4. That game was never competitive. Quarterfinals were competitive. Washington Sun Dodgers played Darkside tough, but Darkside just had too much down the stretch to get past the tournament's leading assist man, Stephen Benelo, 24 assists, most in the field this weekend in the men's division at Nationals. Second of that was Brown University's Mac Hecht with 22. Tournament's leading goal scorer was John Randolph from Brown, the freshman. Mike Ing for Pittsburgh, number 2. Ing would need 7 goals today to match Randolph's output for the tournament. That's how the usage rate for Randolph was so much higher than anyone else in the tournament for any team. No doubt freshman of the year, right, Ian?
Could not argue with that. He was such a fixture on both offense and defense for Brown, playing critical points when they needed a hold or a break. He's going to be the centerpiece of that team for years to come.
Robinson tries deep again. Perfect shot. Kevin Trey shaken up earlier, back on the field and scores the second goal for Pitt.
Well, it's good to see Kevin Trey healthy, and it's also good to see Kevin Trey working himself into the deep lanes. What started out as a short little undercut, almost like an upline hybrid cut, turned into a lengthy same third deep cut, and Noah Robinson has been on the money with these down the line shots, unfazed by the wind, still able to keep his receivers in bounds. Normally you're going to see Kevin Trey dishing some of those mid-range to deep shots to guys like Noah Robinson and Mike Ing.
Well, you could understand after watching what Robinson did to Carleton yesterday, Darkside's goal was to try to make him a thrower. And so far, Robinson has thrown 2 goals in 2 tries.
It's turning into one of those cases of pick your poison, right? You want him to hurt you more as a thrower, or do you want him to hurt you more as a receiver?
Leo Warren, the junior from Atlanta, launches the pull. Jungst centering to Hanna. Alex Davis took a couple defenders with him deep, opening up the lane underneath for Liam Searles-Bose. Searles-Bose has not had numbers at Nationals that blow you away, but you talk with the UNC coaches and they'll tell you, look, he's a top 3 thrower on the O-line. He's a top 3 cutter on the O-line. He does exactly what we need him to do. And oftentimes what we need him to do is clear out and make space for others.
Got a pick call as Andrew Cohen tried to sneak out of the impromptu side stack.
Warren marking Gusho Hannes to Williams. Marcus. Searles Bose lays out for the grab. Liam Searles Bose, one of the 17 players that current UNC coach Jonathan Nethercutt coached in the Youth Club Championships with North Carolina Triforce. This team has grown from high school standouts to college stars on the cusp of another title. Anders Jungst gives Darkside a 4-2 lead over Pittsburgh.
The North Carolina Darkside offense has not been broken here in the first half as we get another look at the tremendous possession-saving grab by Liam Searles Bose, the stellar freshman on this Darkside O-line, and after some great handler movement directed by Gusho Hannes, Cohen with a nice inside shot to Anders Jungst to cap off the hold.
We've only had 3 turnovers by the two teams combined in the first 6 points of this championship game. All 3 came on the 1 point, the second point of the game, where UNC got its break to go up 2-zip. Pittsburgh back on offense. What are you seeing from the UNC defense here?
It's interesting to see some of the players at the front of the defensive wall, sometimes with their backs to the thrower, trying to scan the field for the next downfield receiver coming into their area of responsibility. There's a risk there that they take in doing that. in that throwers could catch them, turn the wrong way and sneak a throw past them, but these Darkside defenders are experienced and have a good understanding of when to take those risks and check back in downfield.
It's also where the sideline communication comes in, becomes so important.
And you can see the front of this Darkside zone getting quite tired. Norman Archer's been running a few suicides at this point. Not sure how he would have fared in that marathon point between Stanford and Dartmouth last night. 245 completions required in that single point before Dartmouth was able to hold and take a 2-1 lead.
It was insane. We'll see Dartmouth Princess Layout try to go back-to-back in the women's division as the second game in our championship doubleheader here on the U.
And see, this is where Darkside wants to pin the Pittsburgh throwers.
This is the throw they want to force, but it's over Quan and caught by Wish, and he puts it on the money, cross field for Hanna.
Just when it looked like Darkside had Pittsburgh pinned, they forced the throw, as you said, Evan. They forced the throw they want, and Quan was there. But this might be one of the few times that his size costs him and costs the Darkside defense. Any other defender might have been able to get up just a little higher, have a little bit larger wingspan, and get a hand on that disc. Great awareness by Jonah Wish, towing the line and wasting no time with the end zone shot to Hanna.
All the time, Darkside has to be pleased with how much they forced Pittsburgh to slow down that offensive point with that slight adjustment to the D. You notice they set up in almost a triangle shape, effectively cutting off so many of the downfield cutting lanes that Pittsburgh, while moving quickly within the first quarter of the field, definitely slowed and was bouncing the ball back and forth a lot between the handlers before they were able to find an open lane along the side of the end zone, along the sideline of the field that thankfully Quan was not able to D.
You're absolutely right, Megan. I think this Pittsburgh offense is more comfortable when it's got more space to take deep shots. And you can see them getting more impatient with each and every small throw they had to make to maintain possession.
Can the Darkside O-line stay perfect? Searles Bose. Back to the middle for Jungst. Marcus. And a stoppage downfield. It's a pick.
Still got people walking?
Hey, hey, Dan, quick, right?
Gushohannes beats Warren underneath. Marcus takes the shot. Searles Bose takes off. It's going to hang, and it's going to be cut off the deflection. Oliar tipped it. Searles Bose scored anyway.
Well, Pittsburgh's got to be happy with this defensive point. I know it was relatively quick, but they forced Kai Marcus to take a suboptimal deep shot. They got a hand on the disc, and at the end of the day, some of those bounces just aren't going to go your way. There are going to be other shots at tip discs later in this game. But Kai Marcus might think twice before shooting deep in that direction against Oliart later in this game.
It's interesting to me how Searles Bose didn't really sell out and try to go up as high as he possibly could. He went up a little bit, not to say he didn't jump at all, but he waited for that deflection perfectly. 14th assist of the weekend from Marcus.
Well, that's a credit to Oliart, hustling to get his body as close as possible to Searles Bose at the time of attack when they were both ready to leave the ground.
That was UNC's first huck of the game. You saw Jonathan Nethercutt, the king of the huck during his playing days, won the 2015 title on this field over Oregon. And has transitioned into a coaching role in that it feels like he's been coaching Darkside for like 15 years, even though he just graduated from college in 2015.
Well, he's been coaching so many of these guys for so many years at other levels too. As you mentioned, Evan, he's been heavily involved in the youth club scene in the Triangle area, coaching the Triforce team. 17 of those players, as you mentioned, with experience on that team before joining Darkside.
They've won 3 YCC titles.
Everybody.
Liam Searles Bowes, a 3-time youth club champ. In 4 years, he finished in 2nd place once. Went to the finals all 4 years. And the Carolina defense will get the disc for just the 2nd time in the game. McLeod over to Rovner. Walker Matthews. Colin Smith. Back to Elijah Long. So many D-lines, Huck and Hope. And this Carolina team has been nothing but patient. They've had chances to launch deep, but they wait till they get to the goal line. Darkside now 5 for 5 in red zone opportunities, and it's 6-3. North Carolina's 2nd break of the Pittsburgh offense, and so far UNC doubling up Pittsburgh. Here in the men's final, North Carolina leading Pittsburgh 6-3. Pittsburgh turns it over, and before the game, Ian, the North Carolina coaches talked about using strike cuts with their handlers to punish the Pittsburgh defense.
Yeah, Nathan Quan absolutely took over this point after the turnover. Just doing his best Dylan Freechild or Jesse Schaffner impersonation, running an incredibly effective give-go that did not stop all the way through the red zone, culminating in the goal and break for the Darkside defense.
That's 2 breaks for UNC, none for Pittsburgh. Break being when the defensive line gets a turnover and punches it in. Dylan Best launches the backhand. Gusho Hannes defending, and he cuts off the angle to give Matt Hanna no chance at a spectacular desperation bid.
And you saw Gusho Hannes' speed making up ground and cutting off Hanna.
Will this shot stay in bounds? Stays in bounds and then flies over 2 targets. Just the second turnover of the game from Darkside.
Interesting choice there from Walker Matthews. He did have steps on Noah Robinson, but you saw how sharply that disc bladed as it came closer and closer to the ground, and that should give you a sense of the wind that the players are dealing with down on the field.
Yeah, that was an upwind throw. Megan, can you describe the wind down there?
Yeah, as you can tell by the flight of the disc, it is heading away from the screen at the moment. It's not terribly strong, which is why I think there was miscalculation in the execution of the throw.
Michael Ing mistimed his jump just a little bit, but it was enough for the disc to fly out the back.
Take another look at this one. Not sure if he would have landed in bounds. His last plant foot was in bounds, but his momentum was carrying him out the back of the end zone.
Oh, Quan bobbles and drops it. Robinson, the interception.
And once again, we see the wind having an impact because that went off Quan's hands, and it didn't just go straight to the turf. There was enough wind under the disc that was spinning for it to stay up in the air and continue a different flight path. And great awareness by Robinson to attack as soon as it came in his direction.
Quan couldn't do that again if he tried.
You're definitely collided with him. Yeah, definitely. We'll cue the replay. Yeah, good talk.
Colin Smith receives a blue card, a TMF. Observers feeling that it was a dangerous play. One more of those, and there will be a yardage penalty enforced. David Allison getting clarification from Mitch Dengler. So Pittsburgh off the turnover has it here in the red zone. That's good news for Pitt's offense because Nsabanor is just 1 for 5 on Hucks so far in this final.
You know, Jonah Wish has a lot of throws in his arsenal. Could shimmy for the inside flick, go with an over the top. Quan with an extra poach there in the far side lane.
Michael Ing breaks free and scores for Pitt.
It's so tough as an end zone defender to be on the far side of your downfield defensive assignment when the disc is on the near sideline, because the throwing window for the thrower is that much larger. That inside out lane is that much bigger.
Multi-turnover point. Each team turned it twice, but Michael Ing with his 19th goal of the tournament. Second in the field behind Brown's John Randolph. Wisconsin's Nick Vogt had 17. Matt Gusho-Hannes entered today with 16. He's now got 17 as well. Darkside's O-line retaking the field. This O-line has been excellent so far. They have not turned it over once. Center to Marcus with Shams defending. Hanna bids for the low throw, digs it out. And Ian, this is just a typical looking Carolina possession, including the Marcus travel.
Yeah, they're really finding their groove. Not seeing a lot of downfield switching from the Pitt defenders. Earlier in the game, they were kind of pulling off some of the receivers in the stack to provide some downfield help. And when the North Carolina receivers can work in isolation, they're just so disciplined at keeping spacing and making space for one another that it's difficult to defend.
Hanna threw into the poach. Can Pittsburgh capitalize? Kyle Hartley, the great anticipation. McNamara to Shams. Miles Cooper took off deep, was not open. They get the reset. Now the deep shot goes up.
That's gonna sail out of bounds.
Not even close. Don't know how many break chances Pittsburgh's gonna get in this game. They're gonna be precious.
Yeah, that's one they definitely want back. Thrower not accounting for the wind, continuing to push the disc over to that far sideline.
Hanna is gonna send Marcus. Shams and Hartley defending, and Hartley made up the ground to get the disc. Both Pitt players shaken up.
Nice work by Hartley. He and Shams were both closing in. To be honest with you, if Hartley doesn't make that help defense play, I don't think Shams was going to get a hand on the disc and could have gone right into Marcus's breadbasket.
Kyle Hartley is going to take a sub. Shams staying on the field. We're talking about Kyle Hartley with Pitt coach Nick Kazmarek before the game. Hartley and Dylan Best, both veterans on this team, but have taken similar trajectories into their college careers. Neither played a whole lot as first, second year players, but they've both grown with the program, improved. Talking to Nick Kazmarek about the idea of how important it is to come in as a freshman and not to get down if you don't play. And said it's all about how you mentally approach it. Playing time can be a frustrating thing if you're not getting what you want.
Yeah, and when you play for a team like Pitt that has such extensive commitment to workouts and throwing practices and other commitments outside the simple practice schedule, you really have to have your love for the game solidified.
Another chance to break. An opportunity let pass by Pittsburgh. Tommy Williams with a deflection in the traffic.
The observer ruling that it is a travel, but let's not be so technical on those travel calls, okay? That's how he got the around him.
Hafiz Shams, another example of development on the mark there of Andrew Cohen. Shams tore his ACL the winter of his senior year of high school. Wasn't in great shape at tryouts. Could not make the A team at Pitt, which was one of the reasons he went to Pitt, was to play Frisbee. Next year, he trained really hard, thought I could make the team, still was cut. Wasn't until his 3rd year as a junior that Shams finally got his chance, and by the bracket play at Nationals last year, he was a starting member of the D-line. Looking for Ing. Defenders aplenty, but it doesn't matter with Ing going up tall for Pittsburgh.
Well, it took the Pittsburgh D-line a few tries on this point, but they've finally been able to convert that break. As we get another look at the upline throw, sailing over the outstretched arms of Madga Johannes. And Goldstein has been quite a shooter himself for Pittsburgh, with a couple nice deep shots in the semifinal victory, and this calculated risk going down the same third to Mike Ing.
So Pitt gets one of the breaks back. Michael Ing, standout in the club division last year, helped lead Philadelphia Amp all the way to the finals. A Universe Point thriller won by Seattle Mixtape. Saw Carolyn Normile with the Pittsburgh women's team yesterday, another critical player on that Amp team. How good was Carolyn Normile?
You know what? I just got to say this. All due respect to Kali, congratulations that you've made it to the final. It's just criminal that we're not going to get to see Carolyn Normile play in the national championship. You can't deny her talent, the impact that she's had. I think she's got to be unquestionably the MVP of the women's division for this weekend.
She was involved in 11 of Pittsburgh's goals yesterday with either the goal, the assist, or the hockey assist. Searles Bose calmly looks off the deep shot. I'm not questioning Searles Bose's intensity. He just looks so relaxed out there.
And I think that's got something to do with the comfort he has with the offensive system that North Carolina runs. And we see another uncharacteristic turnover for the Darkside offense.
UNC had turned the disc over one time in the game's first 9 points. They led 6-3. Since then, Darkside has turned it 6 times. And that one was ugly. Uncharacteristic mistake from Jungst.
Yeah, not sure if he thought Long was attacking backwards for a reset a little more aggressively than he actually did, but Jungst normally a rock for this unit.
And coaches felt he did the best job exploiting his matchup in the semifinals yesterday, better than anyone else on the O-line for North Carolina. And these are 2 programs with championship pedigrees. Pittsburgh won their first titles in 2012, 2013. We asked Nick Kazmarek, is this team different than that team? He said, well, those teams were just fueled by missed opportunities the previous few years. Pittsburgh first made nationals in 2005. They've been to nationals every single year since, a run of 14 years. That's currently the 2nd longest active streak in the country behind Wisconsin. Colorado's 20-year streak ended this year when they lost to Texas at regionals. College Ultimate, pretty much every school these days has a team, and every team is in the series, from conferences to qualify for regionals, and then the coveted 20 spots available at nationals every year. Just making it to the big dance is an incredible accomplishment. To be in this game is the game of your life, and both teams are looking shaky these last couple points.
Well, Pittsburgh has to be frustrated.
Marcus sending Jungst, he's got it. Travel called on the throw.
Pittsburgh calls timeout after they get the turnover, draw up a seemingly goal-scoring play, and then Kai Marcus with a one-shot goal.
Travel call upheld, saying he didn't hold that left foot, which was his pivot foot, as he threw it. Jungst on the under. Everyone reacting as if there was a stoppage. It will stay with Marcus, though. The pick not impacting the swing.
Do a 3-2-1 ground. Do a 3-2-1 and go. Miles, gotta stay high. Gotta stay high, Miles.
Marcus taps it back in over to McLeod. Up the line, near the sideline, kept in bounds by Gusho Hannes. Perfect put from Gusho Hannes, connecting with Liam Searles Bose. That's a hold for the Darkside offense, despite the turnover on the point.
And nice work by Gush to give and go as soon as he caught that disc on the break side and just barely has time to set his feet and hit Searles Bose in that small window by the fore side cone. If this is off the mark by just a tiny bit, there's not that much extra real estate for Searles Bose to save possession while staying in bounds.
Second goal for Liam. Just a freshman, came into the Carolina program with a lot of hype. Been good friends with Gusho Hannes for a long time. And how about Matt? He fashioned himself as a defensive cutter. And in the middle of his freshman year, the coaches decided to move Gusho Hannes onto the O-line to handle alongside the likely Callahan Award winner, Jonathan Nethercutt. And he fit in so seamlessly. I asked the coaches earlier today for Darkside, was there ever a moment where you had to tell Matt Gusho Hannes, hey, don't try to do too much, holster a little bit? And they said immediately, no. He wasn't coming on the O-line to try to do that. He didn't really want to be on the O-line, but that was a role they needed to fill. They didn't have the handler talent. His job was to give it to Nethercutt, and it led to a title 3 years ago on this very field.
Well, I'm sure Matt would have liked to have another title of his own under his belt after his team's run to the semifinals last year, but Jack Williams getting the better of that Darkside squad, leading the Seamen to a historic comeback, and now Darkside still fighting for that next championship.
Certainly some contact. Didn't appear malicious in any way.
I think Hoffenkamp.
It's contested. It's coming six. We're coming six. Is everybody? Are you guys set?
So far in this game, Pittsburgh has made 11 calls. North Carolina has made 2. This throw is not coming back. That's not necessarily an indictment on Pittsburgh. Could be just as much an indictment on Carolina for traveling more frequently and giving Pittsburgh reason to make those calls. Just passing on the facts.
So that throw was an attempt at a high stall punt because Pittsburgh didn't want to turn it over so close to their own goal line, but they weren't able to read the wind well, and it definitely went out of bounds deeper in their own half of the field than they would have liked.
UNC trying to break Pittsburgh again to take it to half. Elijah Long back for McLeod, and he'll take the timeout. Yesterday at the half, North Carolina trailed Oregon 8-6. We're down 13-11, game to 14. Darkside scored the last three goals to win it. Coming up this July in Cincinnati, for the first time since 2002, Worlds will be held on American soil. 4 years ago, it was held in Italy in the town of Lecco. USA teams swept the three main divisions: Revolver from San Francisco, Dragon Thrust from Minneapolis, and Seattle Riot, all world champs 4 years ago.
Too soon, Evan.
128 teams from 36 countries. You were playing with Johnny Bravo in 2014, weren't you?
And Revolver got the better of us in the semifinal clash of the Titans. That
well, you had your revenge that fall in Frisco.
Some would say yes. Revolver also lost in quarterfinals that year, and we weren't able to face them deeper in the bracket.
You should write a thank you note to a different member of the Toronto Ultimate community every day.
Are you saying we wouldn't have been able to do it if we had faced them in Frisco?
That's kind of what I'm saying. Out of the timeout, Quan narrowly catches that one with Kevin Trey nearby. Would have been a great game for sure, but I wouldn't have bet against Revolver.
It's understandable. We would have liked being the underdogs coming into that one.
Quan needs the reset, connects with McLeod. A Darkside goal would take it to the half. Games played to 15, halftime is at 8. Players moved before the disc was tapped back in. Violation was called.
Everybody's excited to get started. When you're ready.
Buzzer! 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 Hey, low ball screens! Low ball screens!
All right.
Well, just when we were talking about how few calls
Pittsburgh defense comes up big near the goal line.
Here we go, Swish. Here we go, Swish. Here we go, Swish.
Quan thinks he can break the mark, but Trey gets a block, and Pittsburgh.
Before we can show you the replay, Pittsburgh turns it over again. Pittsburgh has just been a little too loose with the disc, and Nathan Quan shakes free. Good spirit between Trey and Quan, but it's Darkside ahead 8-5 at the half of the men's final.
So Jonah Wish picked up the disc, and Mike Ing just unable to reel that one in. Maybe a tougher grab, but still got a hand on it. And then Nathan Quan using his speed and explosiveness and agility to attack those small handler upline spaces in the red zone. So hard to defend against when he's got such lateral quickness and explosiveness.
Nathan Quan, top 5 Callahan finisher. He actually finished second in the voting behind Stanford's Gabe Hernandez. Would be Gabe Hernandez, the first Stanford player to win the Callahan since your old coach Jim Shetler won it for Stanford in 1997 when Stanford swept the Callahans. Dominique Fontenette, Callahan winner that year. She's still in college form, it seems, in her early 40s as a player. 8-5, North Carolina leads Pittsburgh at the half. Pittsburgh with 7 unforced turnovers, and that really has been the difference. UNC 7 of 8 in red zone chances. They have converted when they've gotten it down near the goal line.
Yeah, we talked with Coach Nick Kazmarek about the importance before the game of winning some of those multiple turnover points, and Pittsburgh just hasn't been able to do that yet this game.
These athletes were singled out as the people on their respective teams who best represent all the qualities that make up spirit of the game.
Liam Searles Bose scored twice. Nick McLeod scored twice for Darkside. Megan Tormey down on the field with Pittsburgh coach Nick Kazmarek.
Thanks so much, Evan. Nick, you guys are going to need some breaks to get back into this game, and you've had a difficult time generating those opportunities. What are you going to bring out in the second half?
I think we have a couple other defensive looks we're going to maybe go to, but I think we're putting good pressure on. I think we're struggling a little bit with their break mark throws, and they're working us underneath right now. We got to make some adjustments to that, but we'll be fine in the second half.
Your team has only one more half of Ultimate to play together. Who's going to be the voice you're listening to in the halftime huddle?
I'll be honest, I think that is definitely something that's on a lot of their mind, if we're being transparent. They have this last half as a team. I think the captain, Jonah Wish, is really going to have a lot of good things to say. Maybe Dan Goldstein, a couple of the coaches. But I think they're going to enjoy their last half of Ultimate no matter what the outcome.
All right, well, we wish you luck in the second half.
All right, thank you.
Back to you, Evan.
Megan, thank you. We appreciate Nick Kazmarek giving us a minute of his time. We're at the half in the men's final. North Carolina leading Pittsburgh 8-5 in Milwaukee. "13 total points in the first half. Darkside took 8 of them, 3 of which were breaks. Pittsburgh only broke Carolina once. Ian, when we look at these first half highlights, you'll see just a lot of clinical offense from Darkside.
Yeah, they've certainly played a lot of mini and small-sided offense together with each other in practice. But last night we saw Noah Robinson of Pittsburgh, such an imposing offensive threat as a receiver. But as we saw there on those last 2 highlights, he's made his impact as a thrower in this first half for the Pittsburgh offense. We get a look at the Pittsburgh offense also navigating some of the zone looks. And Kai Marcus, again, never one to shy away from a deep shot. Oliart getting his hand on it. Searles Bose with a deflection and Reed for the goal. And Nathan Quan a lot more involved in the D-line offense today than he was yesterday.
Has Kai Marcus been more careful with the disc, in your opinion?
Definitely reeled it in compared to some of the shots he's taken earlier in the tournament, especially in that semifinal game yesterday.
Nathan Quan's goal taking it to half after multiple turnovers on the point. The Darkside coaches conversing. We'll chat with one of them when we come back to Milwaukee. 8-5, North Carolina leads. A reminder, coming up at 5 o'clock Eastern, it's the women's final here at 2018 USA Ultimate College Nationals. Colorado Collie, the 12 seed, going for their first ever title. Number 1 seed Dartmouth, a heavy favorite. Dartmouth trying to go back to back. That's 5 o'clock Eastern time coming up after the conclusion of North Carolina and Pittsburgh here on ESPNU. Megan Tormey down on the field with North Carolina coach David Allison.
Thanks so much, Evan. David, you have to be pleased with your team's performance, but one thing about Darkside is that you never let up. What are we going to see in the second half for you guys to continue pushing forward?
I think you can expect a lot more man pressure with mixing in some junks that we've been doing. They've been seem to have been working pretty good so far, making them throw a lot of passes. They've been doing a pretty good job being patient and working through it at times, but as the legs start to get a little tired and the brain starts to get a little tired, maybe we'll get a few more mistakes out of them with that as well. On offense, I think we're playing pretty good. We were pretty clean except for that one long point in the break that we gave up. Going upwind, they're trying to push us out and make us hit some hucks, and we're going to continue to change angles to make it hard for them to do that. Yeah.
You two are closer than Pittsburgh to winning this national championship. How do you keep this team focused in the second half?
I don't think focus will be an issue. This team is really hungry and they want it.
All right, well, thanks so much and best of luck to you. Our coverage will continue after this break.
Quick look at the first half scoring summary with North Carolina leading Pittsburgh 8-5. Perhaps even more interesting than the goals and assists, the fact that Michael Ing for Pitt and Madga Hanna for North Carolina have each played 9 of the 13 points. That's most on their respective teams. Imagine, especially with Pittsburgh trailing, Ing will be a regular on the field in this second half, starting here on offense, as Pittsburgh has an opportunity to hold and get within 2.
And Darkside comes out with another junk look to try and slow down any pull plays or strings that Sabanur might have called coming out of the half.
In the first half, Pittsburgh turned the disc over 10 times, 7 of which were unforced. North Carolina had 8 turnovers in the first half, 5 of which were unforced. This has not been a game of spectacular blocks. That's not to say the defense hasn't been stingy and forced tough throws and taken away the first and second and third options.
Yeah, these teams, they know each other, right? And they have trust in the systems that they've worked so hard to practice all year long. When you don't have a ton of risk takers on the field, I think there are a few more of them on Pitt than there are on North Carolina. That lends itself to some more conservative decision making.
Kevin Trey trapped, has to flip it up high, and Mike Ing brings it down. If you joined us late, it is a hot one today. Memorial Day in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Upper 80s, low 90s, and on the turf, it feels about 10, 12 degrees warmer than it does when you're not on the turf.
And Evan, when we were walking around on the pitch before today's game, you can't downplay the humidity either.
The sunshine has been roasting all players and spectators the past few days. Oh, misread by Colin Smith, and Pittsburgh's Noah Robinson is there for the prayer.
So that's exactly the throw that the Pittsburgh zone wanted to force, right? A deep shot with their deep in position to make a play, and you know, we're not going to try and be too hard on him, but let's be honest, that was just a whiff on Smith's part.
Pitt will take it. That's the first goal for Robinson. He had 4 goals in the second half against Carleton yesterday. Quick 30 seconds on the end of Carleton's season. They were the #1 seed coming in. They had looked dominant up until the semifinals here at Nationals. What did cut in? They thought they were the most talented team. I think most spectators agreed. Why didn't they beat Pittsburgh yesterday?
You know, I think some of their stars didn't show up mentally. It's really hard to say why that is. Were they troubled by the amount of pressure and the expectations that they were dealing with? Were there other injuries that we were unaware of, limiting them from playing up to their potential? But the big name guys that took the top assignments simply gave up on a few points and didn't perform to the level that we'd seen them play in the past.
That's a low throw, and Youngst unable to dig it out. He called a foul, though. And we'll see if this stands. Henry Navarro is defending Youngst. Definitely a low throw from Searles Bose.
No contest. Coming in 1.
And they called a foul on the throw. Nope, they called a foul on the cut. If Youngst didn't get hit while making the cut, I think the argument is he would have had a better play on the disc. No contest by Pitt. Carolina keeps it. Youngst inbounds again near the sideline. Hangs in the air, but the defender wasn't close enough to bother Gooch. There's another foul in the backfield.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a technical misconduct foul for some aggression on the mark. Not uncommon.
You mean a team misconduct foul, right?
Team misconduct foul.
There are also technical fouls and personal misconduct fouls. The system of discipline in Ultimate could be simpler and refined. And I think they're working on the next edition of the rules. That will be a part of the evolution of the sport in the coming few years. Hannes to Youngst. Up the line, floating. Hannes, he caught it from the ground, but apparently he was out. Did the disc hit the pylon on the fly?
That's what it looked like to me. So Youngst tries to put a touch throw out to space.
Yep.
And that's exactly it, Evan. The disc hit the pylon.
And that's out.
Before Hannes could gain possession. Again, Youngst is capable of making that throw. He's got the skill to put the touch on the disc and get it in the right spot, but I'm pretty sure the wind kind of pushed that a little further than he anticipated it would.
I wonder if Hannes wishes he had taken one more stride before laying out. But again, Pittsburgh with opportunities to get back in this game, giving gifts to UNC.
Yeah, this game isn't over.
Leo Warren shaking up on the field. Might be a cramp.
This game isn't over, but when breaks have been so difficult to come by for the Pittsburgh defense, you just can't make mistakes like this. There's either got to be better communication between the receivers, or, you know, I know you're laying out, but you get a clean hand on it like that, you got to make that grab.
Pittsburgh is now 1 for 5 on break chances here in the final. Davis to Marcus. North Carolina converts as Hanna shakes free in the end zone. 9-6, Darkside.
And again, the handler movement and aggression in the red zone. Not often getting any downfield cutters in the back of the stack involved. It's more creating space for those handlers to play small ball off the top of the front of the stack and near the front cones, and Youngst puts the right amount of touch on that one.
Two goals, 2 assists for Hannes. And we talk so much about spacing in Ultimate and how it is a game of creating space for your opponents. This is the 50th anniversary of the sport, founded in New Jersey in 1968. The concept of the stack was not invented until 1982. Roger Shepard at Stanford helped to codify the early principles of the vertical stack, lining bodies up in a line in the middle of the field to create multiple lanes of space. Stanford was the innovators when it comes to the stack in the early theories behind ultimate spacing. They won nationals the first time it was held in 1984.
And the vertical stack is still such a prominent offensive set and strategy today across all divisions. and competition levels.
First offense that a lot of people learn when they start playing the sport. You learn how to set a force, trying to get your handler to throw it to a certain space, and then you set up a stack with defenders trying to prevent you from throwing it to a certain direction. The college game has changed so much, though, just in the last 5-6 years. So many more high school kids playing. There's Pittsburgh with some smooth offense. Both these teams have had good feeder programs locally. And we talked about it yesterday during the semifinals. I think in 2018, I don't even think it's close, a greater number of freshmen have had impact roles on nationals caliber teams than ever before. There's always some athletes that come in and make some plays and use their athleticism. Maybe they played a little bit in high school, but right now you find polished freshmen in the college game, which was a rarity just 5-10 years ago.
And when some of these freshmen are still in high school and they're making their decisions about where to go, it's getting to the point where they're talking with the current teams about, hey, how many spots are actually open on next year's roster? How many returners am I going to have to be battling with for a spot or playing time? And those conversations would not be happening at even some of the biggest programs just a few years ago.
Pittsburgh is actively recruited. They bought some commercial time during the championship broadcast a couple years ago to hype their program. North Carolina, not all that far removed from being a school that didn't even make it to regionals. Sending Alex Davis deep. Breakaway speed, and he's got it. We haven't seen that much from the Darkside offense, but that was executed beautifully.
Yeah, having watched tape on the Darkside offense earlier in this season, it was only a matter of time before Alex Davis snuck deep and used his track-inspired speed to make the Pittsburgh defense pay, and Kai Marcus once again on the money with his deep shots.
We are about 7 minutes away from the soft cap. North Carolina leads by 3. As he has dialed his throws to be a little bit more precise here in the final, and Alex Davis accelerating, a SportsCenter top 10 nominee.
Davis using his breakaway speed to bust through his assignment, the top of the Pittsburgh help defense. And we certainly called Kai Marcus out for his shaky performance in the semifinals, but thus far he's been a great thrower and leader for the Darkside offense here in this final.
Ing needs a reset, finds Trey in the backfield. Noah Robinson. Dylan Best fires the flick. Rovner defending. And his pressure, in part, prevented Matt Hanna from making a play on the disc.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Best was thinking when that went up. It even looked like Rovner was maybe a half a step deeper than Hanna.
Elijah Long will quarterback the North Carolina D-line on offense. Ooh, low throw. Kept alive, though. Walker Matthews. Nick McLeod.
Oh, we're staying here. Coming one.
Unlike basketball, no picks allowed in ultimate. If you're chasing an offensive player and another player prevents you from getting to your guy, call a pick, you're allowed to catch up. You can only call a pick, though, if you're within 10 feet of the guy you're guarding. Switching fields to Rovner. Here's Archer. Another pick.
Archer's one of those unsung heroes of the Darkside defensive line. Always tasked with using his wingspan to put a huge mark on the other team's leading throwers.
McLeod looking for Archer, and he finds him after a couple fakes the other way. McLeod and Archer have had symmetrical careers at Carolina. They both played a couple years, then took a year off. Archer studying abroad in Southeast Asia, and Laos and Vietnam. McLeod in Mexico and Colombia, where he played for a Colombian team at TEP. Now in their 5th years at UNC. And connecting for a goal to take a 4-score lead in the final.
Well, Evan, we're now just 1 minute away from the soft cap. North Carolina's got a 4-goal advantage. Time's running out for the Pittsburgh defense to start generating some blocks and actually doing something with those turnovers, as they've struggled to do that so far this game.
Carolina converting again in the red zone, where they're 9 of 11. And really the difference in the game, Ian, Pittsburgh's been good in the red zone too, but they haven't established possession there nearly as frequently. They're 4 for 4 in the red zone, and Pitt is 3 for 9 on its hucks. Jonah Wish will try to dial up an easy Pitt score here on offense.
Live by the long ball, die by the long ball. It's that much harder to live by it when you've got windy conditions like we have today.
The soft cap horn just sounded, which means after this point, you'll add 2 to the higher score, and that's the new destination to win the game. So it'll either be 11-8 game to 13 or 12-7 game to 14. Bass swings it for Trey.
You hear the Darkside sidelines yelling shooter, giving instructions to everyone else on the field, letting them know that the Pittsburgh thrower with the disc is willing to take deep shots, and that gives the marker some instruction to go a little bit flatter, to challenge the release points in a different way for Huckers.
Low throw, and unable to come back for it was Hanna. He knew it wasn't going to get over the defender, so he reacted right, but he could not hang on. And that's excellent team defense from North Carolina to force that desperation shot. Lack of patience from Pittsburgh to take it. Liam Searles-Bowes sending Nick McLeod. Was there a call?
Let's take a look at the replay, but on first glance, it looked like Dylan Best got the block cleanly. Any contact afterward wasn't a dangerous play. It was incidental after the disc was uncatchable. Oh, that's tough.
No foul to Darkside turn. Pitt possession.
Take a deep breath, Jonah. Have some fun. Leo, take a breath.
These are two of the perennial powers in Ultimate over the past 7-8 years. Pittsburgh looking for their third title. North Carolina seeking number 2. That disc is not going to be caught, and half dozen bodies all tumble simultaneously. North Carolina with a quick restart as 5 bodies tumble. Nathan Quan in the middle of the field. I think despite all those bodies going down, there was no call and no stoppage whatsoever.
And smart of Pittsburgh to just pick up the disc and start attacking.
Hanna to Searles Bose. Clonk sending Hanna. 12-7 Darkside. North Carolina can taste it. Back in Milwaukee, back in the driver's seat for a title. The undisputed leader of North Carolina Darkside 2018, Hanna, in the final 3 goals, 2 assists, leading the team in goals, and he's got more than double the next highest scorer on the North Carolina roster. The soft cap went off. It's a game to 14. Pittsburgh has a very steep climb ahead. That disc sneaks through the junk, and then Shams sending it long. A gorgeous shot to Tranquillo.
Really nice confidence boost here for Pittsburgh. A lot of the personnel on the field and involved in that score are not typically a part of the Ensabinur offense, as we see Goldstein with the wonderful zone-breaking throw, and Shams given the rare O-line opportunity, able to shoot deep right on the money and put the disc in Tranquillo's breadbasket.
Turnover, free hold for the Pitt offense. Worth mentioning, North Carolina's been up 12-8 in a televised game before and stumbled. Last year in the semifinals, they led UNC Wilmington 12-8. Jack Williams took over. Wilmington prevailed 14-13. North Carolina coaches feel they let that one slip away, obviously. Thought they had another run at a title in them. Wilmington ended up losing to Carleton in the final. Can Pitt deliver a historic comeback on the biggest stage under the hot sun of Milwaukee today? Hafiz Shams giving everything he's got to cover the pull. It's interesting, Ian. It's a dream come true to just play in this game. I mean, everyone who attends nationals, everyone who plays Ultimate with some level of ambition envisions themselves one day taking the field on Memorial Day Monday. I think Hafiz Shams, number 29 for Pittsburgh, is the epitome of that mindset.
As we talked about, one of those few players who's worked his way up.
Played for Michael Van Ness on the Pittsburgh B team. Nick Bozic, another former B team player, has been really influential about developing young talent in Pittsburgh. Darkside turns it over through the hands of Davis. Pittsburgh only has 1 break in the game. And a pick downfield. Throw a little bit behind him, still catchable. Deep shot going up. Warren wants Hartley. Plenty of defenders there, and Davis authoritatively sends it out the back.
I mean, I don't understand the decision there. You haven't connected at all deep. Your receiver doesn't have separation. Those Pittsburgh defenders are going to peel off the back of the stack. Maybe there's just not a play call in their defensive playbook to work it up slowly today, but that's not the kind of decision making you're going to need to mount a comeback with time winding down.
Pitt now 4 of 12 on their Hucks in a 4-goal game. TMF assessed to Kyle Hartley. Don't forget, coming up very shortly after the conclusion of this game, the women's final. Stanford fell to Dartmouth yesterday, so it's Dartmouth and Colorado. Another look at Davis's D, and North Carolina 2 scores away from a title. You can see the thought bubble in Marcus's head. He considered the deep shot, but thought better of it. Elijah Long to Gusho-Hannes. Matt Gusho-Hannes is expected to return next year as a 5th-year senior for UNC. There are a handful of seniors for both these teams playing their last college games today. Pick downfield. Good look at North Carolina's vertical stack in the end zone. Oh, tremendous defense. Pittsburgh will get the disc back. Kyle Hartley, full extension. And it was actually more of a drop than a D.
Yeah, but credit to Hartley. His pressure and imposing presence definitely made Gusho-Hannes uncomfortable.
Leaping catch by Shams. He's got a wide open man. Shams is 2 for 2, sending deep. Both times the target, Dylan Tranquillo. Pittsburgh has its 2nd break of the game.
Maybe Nick Kazmarek should have been putting Hafiz Shams on the O-line all year long.
Celebrating long before Tranquillo caught him.
A spectacular possession-saving grab on a backhand that was kind of air bouncing. And Shams unfazed by the upwind conditions. Delivers a money ball.
North Carolina here in an interesting position. They still need to score twice. There's no hard cap in the final. Do you throw the same bodies out on the field? Do you give your top O-line a rest in case they get broken again? It becomes 12-10. Then the pressure mounts. Not exactly like soccer where a 2-goal lead is the most dangerous lead in the game, but if Pittsburgh gets one more break, then all of a sudden thoughts begin swirling in every Darkside player's mind. And Pittsburgh, if they don't believe already, certainly that belief would intensify. 12-9, Darkside with a disc, and we'll re-pull. Offsides was called. Hafiz Shams still out there, and again, he was the first guy running down.
And at this point, that man's just running on adrenaline. He's played 2, 3, 4 points in a row. Doesn't matter. He knows this is one of his last opportunities with this program.
Well, in his play, the last couple of points certainly has injected some life into the Pittsburgh sideline. For that reason, you have to reward him and put him back in.
Ooh, little nerves on the throw and turnover for Darkside. It's a 2-goal game in the final. 3-0 run for Pitt.
So here's the wind having an impact in this game once again. That's got to be a better centering throw. I think released in a slightly lazy manner. You got to follow through and put some spin on that and put it right in your center handler's chest.
I don't know what's happened, Ian, but 4 of the last 5 points have been scored by the defense. Breaks on 4 of the last 5 points. And Pittsburgh with 2 in a row to get back within 2. Darkside with Williams, Davis, Searles, Bose, Elijah Long, Matt Gusho-Hannes, Kai Marshall, Nick McLeod, and Anders Jungst. Excuse me, Kai Marcus. Pittsburgh on a defensive rally. Can it continue? Here's timeout was called.
Looks like we have a timeout on the field. North Carolina.
David Allison doing the talking in the North Carolina huddle on the line. Allison, plenty of coaching experience, helped lead the Virginia women's program to the Final Four a few years back. Darkside, the lone loss to William & Mary was a meaningless result because North Carolina already had Pool B locked up. Their only other loss this season, aside from that setback to William & Mary, was on April 1st at Easterns to Pittsburgh. 13-12. Noah Robinson to Michael Eng for the winner. The loss to Brown only by 2. The win by 4 over Washington, enabling Pittsburgh to take their pool via point diff. They cruised past Wisconsin and then upset Carleton in the semis. North Carolina still needs to score twice. Center to Marcus. Gusho-Hannes, deep shot going up. Gonna be shy of the end zone, but Searles Bose has it. Long landed. No signal yet. Pittsburgh may have called a travel.
Yeah, he caught it with his feet. Okay, yeah. Not a goal. This is where the stoppage happens. Is everybody good where they are? We good? Go to where you were when he caught it. Go to where you were when he caught it.
I think you were like behind me because you were just.
Yeah. Okay, once just when I tell you okay, you get out of here.
Not sure there's anyone on the Darkside roster they'd rather have with the disc here than Elijah Long. Gusho-Hannes trying to break away, and he gets free from Warren. snapping the 3-0 run to bring North Carolina within 1 goal of a championship.
UNC 13, Pitt 10.
Once again, Hanna's just daring anyone, please try and cover me in these small upline spaces. So challenging to do especially when you don't have any help defense one direction or the other.
4th goal of the final for Madga Hanna. North Carolina needs 1 more. Long stays out there for the deep point. Bunch of Darkside players exchanging hugs on the line. You saw Colin Smith embrace Quan, McLeod, and Rovner all on the line, hoping that this could be the game and championship clinching break. Walker Matthews uncorks the pull.
And we get the traditional Pitt offensive line back out there after a couple points of some different personnel subbing into that offensive unit.
Nathan Quan like a bolt of lightning running down the field. Pitt called Wish with the disc.
Are we good? Hold it, hold it, hold it.
Jonah Wish missed extensive time in his ultimate career at Pittsburgh with a shoulder injury. Become one of the true leaders of this program in his senior season. Wish, a 5th-year player for Pittsburgh.
Good ball. Just going back there is.
To Ing. Trey.
Nice fake by Ing, opening up that break side throw.
Sending Hanna, nobody home.
I'm really confused by some of this decision making.
It's an eagerness and a desperation to get the play over quick. North Carolina could win it. They're 70 yards away. Rovner. To Matthews. Elijah Long takes the timeout. Disc will come back in on stall 3. North Carolina leading by 3 on the precipice of their 2nd championship at Nationals. Pittsburgh won it back in 2012 and 2013. Tyler DiGirolamo, Alex Thorne, Max Thorne, Trent Dillon. Some of the many stars Pittsburgh had during those couple of seasons. Wins over Wisconsin and Central Florida. And remember, in 2013, Darkside came into Nationals as the 3 seed. Their only losses at Nationals that year were to Central Florida in pool play and Pittsburgh in quarters. They lost to the 2 teams that met in the finals. Every year since, North Carolina has been a semifinal squad. Starting in 2014 when they lost to Jimmy Mickle's Colorado Mama Bird squad. 2015 here in Milwaukee, Darkside won the title over Oregon. The next year, a very young North Carolina team in the opinion of many, including the coaches, overachieved. They were hoping to be a quarters team. They got to semis, and if it wasn't from a crazy performance from John Stubbs in Harvard, they might have gone back to the final. And last year in the semis, they let it slip away. McLeod thought about the deep shot. Long sends it. Pitt's got a defender there, but Colin Smith makes the catch. And for the second time, North Carolina Darkside victorious at Nationals. 14-10, North Carolina over Pitt. Darkside loves it here in Milwaukee.
McLeod gets Long up in power position and being unable to hold the force, letting a huck go up on the break backhand side of the field. A nice shot to Smith, worthy of a championship.
Sam Jennings for Pittsburgh, the slight misread, and North Carolina takes it. 14-10, congratulations to Darkside, champions for the second time. The 2018 USA Ultimate College Championships are presented by Spin Ultimate, providing custom team uniforms and ultimate apparel since 2007. Visit Spin Ultimate on the web at spinultimate.com. And by Discraft, the official disc of USA Ultimate, now available at Midwest Meyer stores and over 2,000 retailers nationwide. For the second time in 4 years, both times here in Milwaukee, North Carolina is the national champion in the men's division. 14-10, they win it over Pittsburgh. Time for our Discraft play of the game. Brought to you by Discraft, home of the Ultra Star, the goal that clinched the championship. McLeod didn't have the angle. Long broke the mark, and Smith read it well.
Elijah Long, who's been a rock and leader for this Darkside squad all weekend long when other pieces may not have been at their best. So fitting for him to cap things off with the championship clinching assist.
This team had a lot of rocks, none more so than Madga, Hanna, who's standing by with Megan Tormey.
Just admitted to me you haven't really processed the fact that you just won. When do you think it will hit you that you and your team just won college nationals?
I think most likely when I walk back over to my teammates and high-five them, hug some people, and yeah, acknowledge with the whole team. I don't know. We'll see.
During the latter part of that game, when Pittsburgh went on a 3-0 run, what was running through your mind?
We were going to win the game. I was really confident that we were going to win, and you know, like, Ultimate's a game of runs. Sometimes you're off the field for a long time, and it's easy to get out of rhythm, and at the end of the day, I knew we were going to find it, and we were going to punch it in. It was just one of those days. We've never lost on this field before. We weren't going to lose today.
Well, you had reason to have faith in your team. Congratulations on winning nationals. Back to you, Evan.
Thank you.
Madga Hanna will try to make it 3 in 5 years. Next year will be in Round Rock, Texas, where Darkside has not won, but this team has so much talent coming back, and the program that Mike Donardis and Jonathan Nethercutt and David Allison and Alex Cooper have built. 14-10 winners, and the closest game was their semifinal against Oregon, but North Carolina, a worthy champion. Coming up in about 10 minutes right here on ESPNU, the final in the women's division. Dartmouth trying to go back-to-back. Colorado Collie, a heavy underdog, but we'll see if David can slay Goliath in the women's division here today. For Ian Toner and Megan Tormey, Evan Lepler saying so long for now, but we won't be gone for long. The women's final between Dartmouth and Colorado is coming up. All games airing on the ESPN network, streaming live on the ESPN app. To watch the entire game on replay, as well as other games on our family of networks, log on to watchespn.com or download the Watch ESPN app. Women's final coming up next. North Carolina Darkside, college champs at nationals for the second time in 4 years.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. gentlemen, and welcome once again to Elon Soccer Park.